Hey folks, Doomed Wizard here. Uh, I'm doing something a little bit different this time. You guys have seen, if you watch my channel, you recognize this handsome gentleman as Mike and Davina. These two guys are also part of my gaming group, which you've seen photos of if you watched early videos. And when I say my group, this is what I'm talking about. If you tallied up the amount of time that we've played role playing games. It probably predates the Mayflower, maybe, or at least the 13 colonies. Um, so what I'm gonna do is I'll let these guys introduce themselves, and then we're gonna get into why D&D. But before we get into all that, I want to give a shout out to this video sponsor, Into the AM. Into the AM started off with a few graphic shirts with a focus on vibrant colors and wild designs back in 2012, and has grown to offer a diverse range of clothing that has gone beyond simply graphic design. Their mission is to provide a wide selection of high quality clothing of various styles and preferences. Comfortable, casual, and uniquely designed, these shirts will quickly become your favorites, like they've become mine. Into the AM are committed to maintaining the highest level of quality in everything they create. Take it from your pal, the Dune Wizard, they're succeeding. Check out their diverse collection of graphic designs, polos, and button ups for yourself. I seldom go to one of my Saturday night game nights without wearing one of their graphic tees. Regardless of your RPG of choice, you're sure to find something that fits your game. And if you use promo code Doomed Wizard, you'll get an additional 10% off your total purchase. That's like walking into a store and telling them, Doomed Wizard sent me. Now, when I say why D&D, I mean role-playing games in general, but we're going to stick with D&D as a generic term because that's the term most people know about when you refer to role-playing games. So, Nick?
Nick Havert here. I've been playing, I think, since I was in uh, early middle school, and I'm also a horror movie host and part-time radio DJ.
Yep.
Host of Weirderama,
Yeah.
which you can see on YouTube.
Yes, there'll be a link in the comments, folks. If you like Svengoolie, that kind of stuff, you'll like Weirdo Mike, why don't you reintroduce yourself?
Okay, well, I'm Mike Indovina. Started playing D&D. I don't remember what year it was, but my brother brought home the basic set, like the first basic set, the Holmes one,
Mm-hmm.
the dragon, the red dragon, and
Yep.
and my dad ran the game for us. It was like the most fun I've ever had in my life.
Nice.
My dad mocked me for playing.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, my dad did a good job. Then he never wanted to play again after that.
He's like, I retire.
Yeah.
Too much work. Went out on a high note.
Yeah, exactly. You went out on a high note.
But after that, my brother and I and my friends, I got my friends into it, and we played every game we could find: Gamma World, Tunnels and Trolls, and my brother got into RuneQuest,
Mm-hmm.
and just kept going from there.
Cool. Mike, by the way, for those of you just tuning in, is the creator of such awesome role-playing games as Argonauts Odyssey, which I can, which I, as I get you out of the camera, which I can pronounce now. Grimoire, which will be available soon. See if I can get a decent. There you go. Which will be available soon if we have anything to say about it. And
all of which we've been game testing.
Yes, we've been game testing it. He also designed the character sheets for Operation Snake Eyes, which is available on the Doom Wizard Society. So get yourself a copy of that. This is on cardstock. It's a nice little, instead of just putting it on a 3x5 card, you can kind of put it on a cool, dossier.
And I'm Mark Canola. You sometimes hear my voice on We've Got Issues. And I started playing, I want to say it was before John Lennon died, because I remember going up to my friend's house the day he died. So sometime 79, went over to a friend's house to play D&D for the first time. He actually had miniatures and a castle set up. It was really cool. Unfortunately, I died within 5 minutes. I had an elf, and I think I died in my second encounter. And then I've been playing ever since.
Yeah.
All various role playing games.
Yeah. Long-time listeners know I died in my very first encounter. Mark is my editor. He's the editor of Strangeville, which will be the PDF. I believe will be up on the Society really soon. As far as a physical copy goes, I'm still working on that. If it reads well, it's his fault. The question is, why D&D? Why do we do this? We've obviously been playing for 40 years, give or take. What is it? Why? Who wants to start?
For me, it was my cousin Greg. He brought it home from college, and I remember seeing the books at going to visit my cousins. Like, what is this? And he just whipped up some simple adventure. I couldn't even tell you what happened or what kind of character I had, but it just blew my mind. I was like, what in the world is this? It was unlike anything I'd ever done. Like I've just been playing some board games and like Life and things like that at the house. Sorry. And I'm like, what in the and then I think my parents got me the basic set for Christmas.
Yeah, me too.
And like I remember I played a game with my dad, my sister, and somebody else. My dad was like, I don't know what this is. I do remember he played a cleric, and his favorite spell was resist cold. It's like, oh, it's cold. Perfect. So yeah, that and so just like the whole the whole theater of the mind thing.
Yeah.
I mean, just like really hooked me. And I was like, boy, this is just a blast. And then just played all through high school and college. Just never stopped.
My very first player as a DM was my grandma.
Oh, nice.
Right on. Yeah. It didn't go very well. So what else you got?
I came into it more. I mean, it's really thanks to my uncle Mark, who I've named one of the uncles I'm named after.
Yeah.
And he started buying me classic fantasy novels probably when I was 7. I think I read the Narnia series between 7 and 8, 9 years old. The Earthsea trilogy was one of my favorites as a kid. Read Tolkien shortly after that. Took me forever to get through Lord of the Rings. I think it took me a year. And so a friend of mine just, he knew that I had read all those books, and he invited me over and said, why don't, if you actually want to play those kind of characters, I've got, a Tolkien-like game. And so that's how I got introduced to D&D, was just a friend of mine who had, and it was basic edition. It was the basic. So I played the elf character.
Oh, yeah.
Both the race and character.
Yeah, race and class were the same.
But yeah, and then from there, that was junior high. Took a little break from it in junior high, but then in high school, we were just looking for something, a bunch of nerdy guys. There was an older guy we hung out with, and that was back when, 14 years old, you could play for 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
So we just didn't have a lot to do, didn't have a lot of money.
Yep.
Couldn't drink. Well,
legally.
Right.
And so, we'd just go over to Dave. It was Dave, good old Dave. Went over to Dave's house on a Friday night and played till Sunday morning, and he was our main DM for years. And then I think after that, it became, in college is when I got introduced to lots of different role-playing games.
Yeah, because we played V&V.
We played V&V, yeah. And then, I was playing the original Star Wars. I played Call of Cthulhu. We did, what were the ones? I'm trying to remember all the names. The same company that did Call of Cthulhu. I think we played all their games in college. And we even did a very embryonic version of the Marvel superhero game.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like brand new back then.
Yeah.
And so I remember playing superheroes with the Marvel game. And then I've had a regular Sunday night game with my brothers, actually, mostly. Paul was part of it for a while. And for 35 years now we've been playing. Some of our characters that we have are 30 years old. We've retired. In our current campaign, we've retired characters 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
this is probably the version we started with.
Yeah.
That's
my actual. That's still, as you can see, I have the duct tape because it does not stay together anymore.
Yes.
And so
this is second edition.
Yep.
And it's duct taped. But I'm just going to point this out. Oops.
Heck yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
Still at one.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not. I don't know. I don't know what happened to this book. This book is like a graham cracker.
Right.
My ink pen exploded on it. So
That one's been in the bottom of that one has been handled by so many people over the years.
Mhm.
It was sort of the one player's handbook we had for a while. So,
yeah,
but
Well,
I still carry it with me every week, every Sunday.
we had a mutual friend who called me up, and when this came out in like '92, I think was when second edition
sounds
came
right.
out. He called me up and he's like, "Hey, if I buy the books, will you learn how to play it?" I'm like, well, we hadn't played D&D in a couple of years because we moved on to Villains Vigilantes and stuff like that. So it was a bit of a task, and much like when we were playing the other editions of D&D, we were probably doing it wrong because that seems to be a thing, a theme. A lot of people realize, when they're our age, we were playing the original game wrong.
Well, or I noticed. One day I sat down and read the entire second edition player's handbook cover to cover, and took notes. And I'm like, oh, I kind of quit reading after that paragraph. We wanted to play so much.
Yeah.
You only got about 3 paragraphs into the cleric, and I'm like, oh, so not every cleric can turn undead?
Yeah.
And you could, oh, I guess I could have kept reading, or all the optional rules we never read.
That's one of the best aspects of games like basic fantasy, and even more so old school essentials. Get that in the camera.
Mhm.
They don't have gigantic mounds of text to go through. You want the rule; it's literally the first thing you'll find in the book, in the section, and you can move on. So it's a lot more. It's a lot more player friendly.
Well, and I think as we've gotten older, so we clearly we're lucky we get in 3 or 4 hours on a Sunday night after everyone kind of catches up on their week and people are eating. And
yeah, there's a lot.
So as we've gotten older, we definitely use a lot more house rules, and we've simplified. We've played a very simplified version of second edition. We can't do the details like we did when we were kids.
Well, who has the time?
Yeah.
Like you said, we're lucky if we can squeeze in 3 hours to play.
But for me, it has kept my brothers and I together for 35 years. It's a standing, everyone knows, everyone we've ever been married to or dated knows that Sunday nights is for the brothers and it's game night. And, even after my parents passed, that it really became important that's how we stuck together. And I find it, and I do love board games. I have a group of people I play board games, and my brothers were all every holiday we play board games. But for me, the storytelling aspect of D&D, the creativity, I've probably had thousands of characters. Never have an issue creating a character, even if they only last. I think in my brother Matt's games, characters don't last very long, and so. But I love creating them, coming up with a personality, playing that personality, doing different voices.
Yeah. Well, we came at D&D kind of on the same path because I was big into choose your own adventures, and some friends of mine in 8th grade were talking about this game that sounded like a live action choose your own adventure. So that's part of it for me that I was hooked. What about you guys? How did you come at it? Were you influenced by the books or?
But I mean, I was always into fantasy, and I remember my mom read us the Narnia books, and my dad read us the Tolkien books. When we were really little, and then things like Star Wars came along
and changed everything.
Yeah,
changed our lives.
Yeah, I remember we used to watch those cartoons like Wizards. The animated movie.
Yeah.
The animated Lord of the Rings movie. We just watched those over and over. But and then Greek mythology. I've been into that since I could read pretty much.
I've said this on the show before, but Mike has forgotten more about Greek mythology than the 3 of us probably remember. So that's why this is a fun game if you're really into Greek mythology.
Yeah,
there'll be a link for it down below.
But when the D&D came along, I really enjoyed the creative aspect of it. To create your own world, and And
If you've got an overly active imagination, this game is like crack.
Oh, dude.
Because it fills checks off all the boxes, fills that need that we need.
Right.
And I think people come at it differently. I've had my son who played for years. They tend to do more funny stuff. Their characters are silly. But we've had plenty of. I mean, Paul and I have had plenty of adventures where something hilarious has happened.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, we played two. I remember when we played Paladins, who both had intelligence of 8.
Yeah, they're like really playing brothers.
Yeah, the Barbarian Brothers, and we played with intelligence of 8.
Yeah,
I think we both ended up dead, buried in we teleported into the ground or something.
Yeah, I got killed by a what is that? The crypt thing or what's that? Crypt keeper
something.
I think it's called the crypt thing.
Yeah, and like it can teleport you. Yes. Yeah. That's how I bought it.
Yeah.
Nick?
I remember reading some of the Tolkien stuff and like took so long, like at that age, like what is happening?
Yeah.
It's a massive backstory. I remember one of my teachers, I think it was 5th grade, she read the Book of Three to us. Like,
that was a great book.
The Horn King.
Yes.
That blew my mind.
Yeah.
And I remember reading. I read, I think, most Narnia books. The one I remember the most reading was The Silver Chair. I was like, God, I just love that book. So that's how I kind of got into the fantasy stuff. And then, Star Wars drive-in movies, things like that. I remember, well, heck, even one of the earliest drive-in memories I have was seeing At the Earth's Core.
Oh, wow.
And that's where my big crush on Carolyn Monroe came from.
That's the one with Peter Cushing and
yes. I'm blanking on his name too, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If that's your first exposure to Caroline Monroe and it wasn't the Sinbad movie, yeah,
totally. So
it's a good second.
And then, so then as soon as I could start buying games. Like how I went from D&D, then we were playing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles role-playing games, which they just reissued.
Palladium got the rights back to it finally.
Villains Vigilantes, we played that. Top Secret, played that.
Top Secret,
I played a lot of
that. Played that in college.
Ran a lot of games for that. Oriental D&D, ran a lot of games in college of that. We had a really cool group that did that. But yeah, it's been, like you said, it's been a great way to stay in touch with friends. There's a Discord group I run on Sunday, and it's two buddies of mine from, like high school and middle school even, and then another buddy of mine is another comic book creator. And so like we play almost every Sunday. And like you were saying, Paul, about how like, this is like you can spin so many things from it, and like you can create so many different things. Like, so like the group I'm running on Sunday now, like they're in the middle of this huge sprawling adventure that I completely based on the Swords Age of Winter's album. I get all these cool like songs, like even like the artwork from like the scene. Like, there's a satyr. I can put a satyr in this game. And they're talking about shield maidens. Okay, that's cool. And but yeah, I did another game that I based on Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Like there's just like so much you can put into it, and change to like if you just want to. I know you run like holiday themed games.
Oh, I love holiday themed games. Yeah, they're my favorites.
It's a blast.
Yeah,
to be able to do stuff like that.
We had an incident. I ran a game with these guys, and I don't know if you were in on it or not, but we played the whole thing, and then a couple weeks later, we're watching Svengoolie, and Mark messages me, and he's like, "How did I not know you were doing the Ghost of Mr. Chicken?"
Nice.
I'm like, who, me?
Nice. That's funny.
Well, my brother Matt, who probably is one of the best DMs around.
Yeah, he surprised me. Honestly.
He came to D&D out of left field.
Yeah,
and now he's read more fantasy novels than I mean, hundreds more than I have.
Yeah,
and so he went deep into playing D&D.
Mhm.
And so, but he and I always talk about, we'll buy modules, but we can't just go with the straight module. We have to modify it. We have to. I mean, so I talk about your imagination won't just let it sit there with the regular module.
Yeah.
You've got to play, and we've both learned our lesson. We've both been the DM where the player characters need to go through the front door, and of course they don't go through the roof and ruin the whole. They come at it, and so we definitely learned how to improvise. We had I know in one of Dave's games we had a holy fireball come kill all the monsters because the party was almost dead.
Yeah,
and so
divine intervention.
Yeah, and so it becomes more about these characters have history.
Yeah,
I mean we've got. Oh my God, we've got so many characters that have such a long history that are now the rulers of certain lands.
Yeah,
and I think one of my characters is a lord now, and you retire them, you care about them, and then there's those characters you just you don't care about.
Yeah,
but and sometimes, and I haven't done this yet with the Sunday group, but we've talked about it. How one of these times. Like I'm just gonna let them pick some randomly rolled characters and just do we call a meat grinder game. I'm just gonna throw it in the Tomb of Horrors or something. If you make it out, great. If not, who cares? You're not really attached to these characters. No. Sometimes it's fun just to run a game like that.
But when you don't have attachment to them and you're willing to take more chances and have bigger adventures because you don't care.
Right.
And you wouldn't take a character you've had for 10 years and just willy-nilly go into the Tomb of Horrors.
Right.
No.
You would be a little more cautious and probably not be as fun as just throwing crap at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
So if we're okay, so you talked about not running a straight module. Yeah, that's true. Same. I can't do it. But what I was curious about is because we're all dungeon masters. Do you have a favorite module? Be it D&D or any other.
The one right now, so I've got we got a group at work that I'm running, and only one guy and has played before, and the other three, the other guys, they're instantly addicted. After one game, they're like, dude, we need to find a game time a day when we can play for 4 or 6 hours. I'm in.
Yeah.
So but one and it's this super basic module. It's Castle Caldwell.
Oh yeah.
It's just a basic, super basic dungeon crawl. I like using that just to introduce people to the game.
Yeah,
because it's not terribly difficult. I mean, there's some challenging stuff in it, and they've already been one guy got a load of poison gas in his face, and someone else got bitten by what was sturges, almost killed one of the dudes. But
is Castle Caldwell the "Oh What a Goose I Am"?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's a great one.
So so I like using that just and you're here's how the game works.
Yeah.
It's a simple. 2-level dungeon crawl, and the dungeons aren't very big.
Yeah.
But boy, I also man, there are a bunch that I have and but just never played. Or run for people, I should say, or even just because I would just enjoy reading them.
Yeah,
and having art.
Yeah, and the art.
Right.
Was it? I remember my cousin Greg had it. Expedition to the Barrier People.
Oh, yeah.
I remember
that's the best.
That's
as
the
a
one
kid,
I was
that
gonna
just
say.
blew my mind. It's wait, you can have an alien in this?
Yeah.
Because as a kid, I never thought, well, of course you can.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I was like, oh, this is all again fantasy stuff.
Right.
Whoa, there's a UFO! Wow, it blew my mind.
Barrier Peaks was the one that basically the original group that I played with. Our DM ran Barrier Peaks, and we got done. And I wanted to run some sci-fi aspects to my game, and they're like, "You can't do that." I'm like,
We just
did it for 3 months.
Yes, totally.
But you can't. So we just broke off and did our own thing, and we've been playing some of these characters since then. Mike,
I remember running adventures, the store-bought adventures, but none of them really stand out. I had more fun making my own.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I like being able to if I'm running a campaign of stuff I made up, every now and then a module kind of pop in my head. It's I can just kind of slide that one.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I was so I love doing that.
We did that sort of. I had bought the Fighters Challenge when we first kind of started playing this. I bought Fighters Challenge and the Quest for the Silver Sword.
Mm-hmm.
And those two modules became my template for how I did modules because they're arranged. Fighters Challenge is a sandbox. Quest for the Silver Sword is a like a railroaded adventure to get you to one location. And they really it was such a there were such great examples of how to do games that those two happen to be my favorite ones. But yeah.
I think mine would be Secrets of the Saltmarsh. Is that the U series?
Yeah.
That was one of the very first multiplayer games that we played. So that became a campaign for us when I was in high school. And so it was one of the first we're like, oh wow, this can continue. And so now we had these characters who were those characters got up to 10th level, I think. Although we the DM got angry at us. He would put in NPCs so that they would level up with our characters. So he would have a higher level character, and he made us angry once, so we killed his NPC. And so after that, that's one does. And so that sort of ended that series of games. But no, I agree though. I think it's when we laugh and talk about old memories, it's usually the ones that someone else, that we made up.
Yeah.
And so we've got my brother Matt had the Kerr series. There's this whole series of villains called.
Oh yeah, I remember some of the
Kerrs. And so we laugh about that. Or my youngest brother Jake has a character named Nubs who became a pirate. Who, for some reason, my brother Matt loves to torture, and he is now an evil villain who opposes us.
Yeah.
And so it's those kind of little things or the wonderful adventure written by a certain DM, which lasted all of 3 minutes, where we opened up a scroll and it destroyed, it killed the whole party, and that was the end of our Sunday night game. So, and we ended up watching that dating show with the guy who was killed by or allegedly killed by OJ.
Yeah,
that's the night we saw that guy on that dating show.
Well, but yeah, what had happened was, like, I was the forever DM at that point, and we played every Sunday, and I didn't have a game ready. So what I did was I made the players all make characters. So we spent a couple hours, and that's when I'll be bluff, like, oh no, take your time, we're kind of fill it out as much as you want. So they made 2 characters apiece. And I gave them a tower. They were living in this tower, and it's a dark and stormy night, and there's a kong, kong, kong knock at the door. And they open the door, and this woman, hands them a scroll. And they open it up, and it had explosive runes on it. And it went off, and it killed almost everybody in the group. And then, so that by next week, I had a game ready, and we used those characters. And they all just were looking at me like,
brilliant. And that was
like, trust me, I have more. I didn't. I made it up after.
And that was about 28 years ago.
Oh god, that was so long ago. Yeah. And on that note, so player or DM? Which do you prefer and why?
Wow.
I'll go. I'm gonna be player. I like being a DM, and I've had the same campaign going for 25 years. But I love making characters, and I don't care. And I think in my last campaign that we had, I think I had the most dead characters, and it doesn't really bother me. I mean, and I get ridiculous. I mean, I had 2 bards once who were halflings, and it was Holland and Oates, and I sang Hall & Oates songs for them. So, I mean, I can get as ridiculous, and sometimes those dumb characters become ones I like the most. And so I love playing, but and I tend to get a little too complicated as a DM, so my campaigns get quite baroque, as my players point out to me. So I enjoy just playing.
Well, anybody who will run the Dragonlance games likes a lot of filler.
Those were
a slog.
You didn't ask what our worst modules were.
Hey, but you ran them though.
I did. I tried. I need to go back and take now those would be ones I'd like to modify.
Yeah.
To because in those games that was unfortunately when they designed that system, you had to play the characters from the book. Things had to happen. A lot of it was out of your control. And so, in retrospect, maybe for someone new getting introduced to it, it was a good idea, but not for seasoned players.
Right.
And so we've played in the Dragonlance world since then, but our own games.
Yeah. Mike?
I think. I mean, I like them both, obviously, but I think I prefer being a DM.
Yeah.
Because they kind of one of the aspects of role playing games that I like, and it's hard because I've always been kind of like an introverted person and kind of shy.
Yeah,
being the DM,
meeting you was difficult,
right? Being the DM kind of forces me to interact with everybody. Being a player, sometimes I might get all shy and not say anything. But I like it. I mean, a lot of times it depends on the game too. I love playing superheroes. So I would like being a player in a superhero game. But barring that, I would run my own. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I'm with Mike. Like I like both, but I think I prefer DMing just because you get I get to play so many different roles.
Yeah.
I get to play the villain and the NPCs and the weird, the goofy little goblin or whatever. And then plus it's just as a writer, it's fun for me to come up with again basing a whole a campaign on an album. How can I do this? And so yeah, I think it's fun to do it. And but yeah, there are definitely times when like it's fun just to sit back and play for a while. And then, like you said, like some might depend on the game or the character you have. So I guess DMing. Yeah, if I really had to choose.
Yeah, for me, it's like I absolutely love running games. I'm a bit of a control freak. I love running game. I love creating. I have so much stuff I want to put in things, but when I want to play, that's all I want to do. And I like Mark. I sink myself into it wholly because it's like an escape.
Yeah,
you start playing if you've been running games for years, and then like you get the opportunity to sit down and just take care of one character. Like you really can just kind of sink into it, and it's like a nice escape.
I don't even mind, and for me, it's just playing games. I just love to play, so I know. I mean, granted, I'm a second edition guy. Although we use some of the character classes from 3.5, but recently my nephew brought in 5th edition, and he's definitely a 5th edition kid.
Yeah,
and a lot of people around the table were resistant, but I it was so fresh and new and different. I loved it. I just stopped like, don't compare it to second edition. Just you're playing a brand. It's like someone bought a new board game.
Yeah.
And so by doing it that way, I was really able to enjoy it. I don't like the sort of forced direction of some of the modules, but as far as like playing characters, it was nice because it was different.
Yeah.
It's something I hadn't played before.
That's been a thing with like, 'cause I have some friends who played 5th, and I've introduced them like 1st and 2nd. And they're like, damn, this is brutal.
Yeah.
Like, I was telling like the group of them on Sundays, I'm like, just like there are like some poison stuff that can just kill you outright. I just want to let you know right away.
Yeah. No death save. Your death save is your saving throw. You fail it, you're start rolling your character.
Pretty much.
There's some video I was watching where this younger player found out for the first time about the vampires draining levels.
No. Yeah.
She was just blown away by
yeah. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
The idea of losing something of yourself to a blow from a vampire.
Yeah, and on the flip side, I've had to, because we've got players who've been playing for 30 years and we're still doing it. And we, just for ease of play, we play second edition. But I don't think I've used a regular second edition monster and or magic item in 10 years.
Yeah.
I'll take a monster and modify it slightly to the left. Or I have a lot of wizards that create new monsters all the time, and so that way they don't, they see, oh, it's a carrion crawler, I know what it does. And so even though my character's not supposed to know, I know what a carrion crawler does. And so I think you kind of, that also fires your imagination. You have to sort of make things fresh for the players.
If you have to use monsters that everybody knows everything about, if they're new characters and old players, one of the things you do is describe the thing that's attacking them. Don't say if this goblin jumps out and gets you, because they'll panic, not realizing it's a goblin with like 4 hit points. You know, yeah, it's I like doing that too.
Yeah, but the only time I specifically tell them what it is like using a goblin as an example. It's like, okay, if I have a character who speaks goblin, they're gonna go, that's a goblin. And that's like okay, you know, these are goblins coming after you. But other than that, like I said, like here's this, or show them a picture. This thing is coming at you.
Yeah,
like, what the hell is that?
we do a knowledge check, or there's the proficiency, kind of like a arcane knowledge and things like that. And so one of my brothers is he's supposedly our guide in the Forgotten Realms, but he never makes his roll. And so even though even though they've read the books, they know who the bad guys are. He for some reason he never makes his roll, so he can never use that knowledge that he's got from the book. It drives him nuts.
That's great.
And so that's been, when you know things that you're fighting trolls and they're going to come back to life. But my character doesn't know that, so someone's going to have to figure that out. So, but that kind of makes it fun too in some ways. And then not knowing what magic item, or thinking something's a regular kind of magic item, and then you use it and it's not that at all.
Yeah, kind of like the time that my Vorpal sword got swapped out, or I had what was it? It was a Vorpal sword, but it got swapped out for a backbiter.
Yes,
or whatever it was, and I rolled that 20, and I was like, yes! And your brother's just like,
yep.
Oh man. Well, this has been a lot of fun, but before I end it, I gotta ask, since we've talked about a lot of memories, off the top of your heads, favorite role-playing game memory? Just something that comes to mind.
Well, okay, like I think it's like 2 off the top of my head. Actually, they both involve halflings. One was a halfling character I played in college, and he was a halfling thief. And I can't remember how I got this thing, but one of the magic items he had was a belt of fire giant strength. So like my tactic was he would always run away until something cornered him, and he just pick him up and like he'd throw people like that. That was my tactic. But then the other was a game I was running, or a guy, he's playing a halfling illusionist, and that was another like a little quick like adapting rules, like because like in the early editions like certain characters and races were limited. Like you couldn't have an elf, whatever, or a dwarf this or dwarf clerics.
Right.
And I never understood that. I'm like, dwarves would have healers.
Yeah, they would have gods.
What I would say, like, yeah, because I remember reading like the deities and demigods books. Like they're gods, gods. I'm like, wait, but they can't have clerics. And then, or I always thought like, eventually, a dwarf fighter running around with a party with a wizard, and it's going to go, hey, can you teach me that? Like, how do you do that magic thing? Like, I never. But anyway. This halfling illusionist, they were fighting. They're basically trying to stop these dragon cultists from bringing Tiamat into the world, and like the whole party's fighting all these cultists and stuff, and the little halfling illusionist, like he's the only one who gets the idea. It's like, hey, I should break up that magic casting circle, like the spell circle. And he runs in and like he grabs it, and like he gets all this cold damage from grabbing this cold thing. But like it was so cool just like to see this player kind of go like, oh man, like the littlest character does like the bravest thing. And like, oh, it's so cool. Very like, epic story moment.
And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that we talk about 30 years later.
Yes, totally.
Correct.
I remember a game I ran where I like to, like you guys are saying, I like to alter magic items a little bit. I had a magic ring that would turn you invisible, but it didn't turn your clothes invisible. So you had to strip. And I remember one of the players was a female elf thief, and she was going to sneak into this place. It was like a sort of like a sheik's palace, where you had dancing girls and everything, and guards. And she had to strip completely naked and sneak in there. And yeah, you couldn't have any weapons or anything. They would show up. And yeah, she managed to pick someone's pocket and get a dagger and then kill the guy that she was trying to kill in there. And that was pretty cool.
So my question is,
Yeah.
okay, so you can't wear everything you're wearing or carrying shows up.
Mm-hmm.
What if you like took something and put it somewhere where the sun doesn't shine?
So you mule yourself?
Yeah.
They didn't come up with
You have the ability to mule. It's like
Kumar, you got
well, I mean, we talked about the exploding scroll. That's
Mhm.
I mean, that's probably the one that stands out the most. But I mean, we've had oh man, there's been so many. I,
Oh man, there was I just saw this other one where the game like it was a Oriental campaign I ran, and early, early in this campaign, one of the like fighter characters, he had mastered the ghost fist technique, and he attracted this student, who they did not know until like, man, I stretched that out for like good grief, it's probably close to 2 years until like we finally revealed like the student was actually this like evil wizard that they thought they had killed. And he disguised himself to come and follow this guy to learn the ghost fist technique and steal it from him.
Oh.
And man, when I dropped that bomb, that guy was so pissed. Are you kidding? And so then they had this big epic fight. So yeah, I was like, it was one of like the longest like stretches I had to like drop this villain bomb on them.
Yeah.
So much fun.
That's good.
I'm trying to think of.
well, I could drop one and then
Yeah, go ahead.
I think.
Yeah,
Okay, now one of just off the top of my head, one of my absolute favorite things that I ever did was when I play a good character, I play a good character. Like I have this paladin who will only heal you if you accept his god, and then I make you pray with me and stuff. And a lot of people just kind of slough it off, but I really get into it when the time comes. So I play good when I'm good, but when I'm bad, I'm better. And we were playing one of your games, and this was way back in the day. And one of the players, like we found the two of us. I played a thief, and I forget what I think he was a cleric, not a cleric. I think he was just a fighter or a ranger. Well, we found this like secret hoard of treasure, and because we had separated from the party. And I told the dude, I'm like, all right, I said, here's what we'll do. I said, let's not tell anybody about this. And when this is over, we'll come back and we'll get it. It's like, yeah. So I'm like, all right, well, just as like a token of my trust and to kind of seal the deal, I handed him this bottle. I'm like, I got a potion of healing. So, just don't tell anybody I gave it to you. And when you need it, this is kind of just, he's like, all right, cool. And he was kind of a new player. Smash cut, like 6 months later, we're playing this game, and he gets wounded, and he's like, "Oh, I know what I'll do. I pull out my potion of healing, and I take a chug." And Mark looked at me, and I looked at Mark because Mark was running the game, and Mark goes, "Save versus poison." And this dude looked at me like, "You mother!" Well, he didn't make it.
No.
So, like I said, when I'm good, I'm good. When I'm bad, I'm better.
We had a player who did that. Wasn't it? I think it was in your game who was secretly a villain hidden in the game.
Yeah, John,
Yeah.
I think it was John.
Yeah, our friend John did that. So he was secretly playing a villain.
Yeah.
As a player character, which was kind of cool. I just had one and I lost. I mean, for me, it's about okay. So I think one of the funniest things that ever happened was I spent some time rolling up a character who was basically Tom Baker in in the Sinbad movie, and so it was his character, and he had a pet monkey that he carried around on his shoulder for some reason. I have pet monkey familiar, and I put a lot of time into it. Did a little picture of him. Was so excited to play him, and my nephew who was new to D&D, we were wading through a sewer and some rust monsters, I think, were attacking us, and he cast lightning bolt. And the lightning, and of course, my brother Matt, the DM, was like, "Well, all right, he destroyed the monster, but." Everyone had to save versus the lightning bolt because he had it going through the water.
They'll do that.
Electrocuted all of us. So my character, who I just made, put all this work into, died within, and then that's where I realized you can't fall in love with your characters too much.
Right. No.
But he died within seconds, and everyone remembers that character. He became memorable.
That's great.
For his death.
That's great. All right. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to wrap this up. If you guys like this kind of video, let us know in the comments, and we'll be more than happy to do it again. This is something different to do. Why don't you guys let us know where you can be found? Those of you that are looking to be found.
Picklepress.net for my comic book stuff. Weird-o-rama.com for my horror host stuff, and my music blog is 7th
So Notre Dame Radio.
Oh yeah, and I DJ for WSND Notre Dame Radio during summers and Christmas break, so I should be back on this summer.
Cool.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I've got my role-playing game books are on. Well, actually, Grimoire isn't yet. But
Not yet.
Soon.
I just working on it.
Soon.
Yeah. They're on Drive-Thru RPG. The company name is Satyr Play Productions. It's SATYR. So, and I have a website which is satyrplayproductions.com. That has my comic stuff and some other stuff, web comics and tarot cards.
He's a man of many hats.
Yeah.
They both are men of many hats. There's men without hats. There's men with many hats. You got anything you want to say, Mark?
I'm a man without a hat, so I help edit and
yeah.
I'm on. Well, we're on. We've got issues, so I do.
Oh yeah.
Appear occasionally on the We've Got Issues.
When we can actually get one made.
Correct. So nope. I'm in the background. I like to edit things. So former English prof. So
yeah. All right. Well, everybody, as usual and as always, thanks for watching. Hey, folks. If you like the channel and you haven't yet, why not do all the YouTube things like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that little bell icon. And while you're at it, why not head over to the Doomed Wizard Society and be the first wizard on your block to have an official society membership certificate, as well as my one-page RPG, Operation Snake Eyes. I'll be adding more exclusive content each month, like one-page dungeons, OSR hack superhero characters, as well as my Kids on Bike style RPG, Strangeville. And if you're looking for some gothic fun, check out the 5e compatible adventure I illustrated, Council of Bones. If 5e is not your thing, it can easily be converted to almost any OSR style system. Links are in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.